Hello everyone, this is Paul from SpanishWithPaul.com, and in this lesson we're going to continue our look at the preterite tense in Spanish. So this is going to be part 2. Remember now that I upload every Monday morning, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel by clicking the link that you see there so you'll never miss any of my videos. The free coursebook that accompanies this video is also available for download. You can click the link you see on the screen now or the one I've put in the description box below this video. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Last week, we looked at the preterite tense with regular verbs ending in AR. So these were hablar, esperar, comprar, llamar, explicar, and trabajar. But we also have verbs in Spanish that do not end in AR. They end in either ER or IR, such as the verb comer or the verb salir. Now, these verbs behave differently in the preterite tense, but I don't want you to worry about this at all because, as always, I'm going to make it easy for you. So let's work through some examples. What's the verb to eat? Comer. Now, if we want to express I ate, you would go back to the full verb and get rid of this ER ending, replacing it with an I that has an accent over the top. So the sound you get is comí, comí. This means I ate. Now, be very careful and watch your pronunciation. You must stress this final I in order to be understood. So it has to be comí. It can't be comí because that doesn't exist in Spanish. And if you say that, you will not be understood. So you must stress the ending where you have the accent and say comí. So let's try to use it. What's the word for everything? Todo. Now, how would you say, I ate everything? Comí todo. The word for the cake in Spanish would be el pastel. El pastel. How would you say, I ate the cake? Comí el pastel. Let's go back to that word for everything again, which is todo. Now, if we add an S to that, we get the sound of todos. Todos. And this means everyone. So if you have todo on its own, it means everything or all. But if you make it plural and say todos, now it changes its meaning to everyone. How would you say, I ate the cake with everyone? Comí el pastel con todos. How would you say, I didn't eat? No comí. I didn't eat today. No comí hoy. To express I didn't eat anything, what they say is no comí nada. Literally, I didn't eat nothing. You have a double negative, which sounds terrible in English, but it is correct in Spanish. So I didn't eat anything would be no comí nada. How would you say I didn't eat anything today? No comí nada hoy. What's the word for yesterday? Ayer. Now, how would you say, I didn't eat anything yesterday? No comí nada ayer. Do you remember the word for already? We covered it in the last lesson. Ya ya. Now to express I already ate, in Spanish they put the word already at the front of the sentence. So how would you say that? I already ate. Ya comí. Let's switch verbs now. What's the verb to go out? Salir. Now to express I went out, we go back to the full verb and get rid of the ending. So get rid of this. Once again, replacing it with an I that has an accent over the top. So the sound you get is salí. Salí. Remember, it's still important to stress this accent over the I. Salí. This means I went out. What's the word for last night? Anoche. Now, how would you say I went out last night? Salí anoche. To express my friends would be mis amigos. Mis amigos. Now try to say this. Last night, I went out with my friends. Anoche salí con mis amigos. Do you remember how to say earlier from last week's lesson? Más temprano. Remember that temprano on its own means early. And the way you say earlier is more early, más temprano. Try this one. Earlier, I went out with my friends. Más temprano salí con mis amigos. What's the verb to eat again? Comer. And how would you say I ate? Comí. Now try this one. Earlier, I went out and ate tacos. How would you say that? Más temprano salí y comí tacos. What about I already went out with my friends? Ya salí con mis amigos. Now try this. Earlier, I went out and I ate tacos with my friends. Más temprano salí y comí tacos con mis amigos. Here's one more for you. What's the verb to speak? Hablar. Now, how would you say I spoke? Hablé. Because this is an AR verb, remember that it goes to hablé in the preterite. Now try this one. I already went out and spoke with him. How would you say that? Ya salí y hablé con él. In this example, you can see very clearly the difference we have in the preterite between verbs that end in AR, such as hablar, and verbs that do not, such as salir or comer. On one side, in the preterite, they go to this E with the accent, so you get hablé, and on the other side, they go to an I with the accent. So this is the difference to be aware of. What's the verb to see in Spanish? Ver. Now, if we want to express I saw, we go back to the full verb, and we're going to get rid of this ER ending. just the same as with comer. So that really doesn't leave us with much. But it's not important. We simply add our I, and so the sound we get is B. B. This means I saw. B. How would you say I saw it? Lo vi. Literally, it I saw. So the lo is standing for it. Lo vi. How would you say I saw it yesterday? Lo vi ayer. What about I didn't see it yesterday? No lo vi ayer. How do you say what happened in Spanish? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Now try I saw what happened. Vi qué pasó. What about I didn't see what happened? No vi qué pasó. Once again, what's the verb to go out? Salir. And how do you say I went out? Salí. What's the word for but in Spanish? Pero. Now let's try to put it all together. How would you say, last night I went out, but I didn't see what happened? How would you say that in Spanish? Anoche salí, pero no vi qué pasó. If you want, you could also say lo que pasó. Either way, qué pasó or lo que pasó. Very often, you're going to want to name who it is that you're seeing. So let's talk about Juan Pablo. What we want to express is, I saw Juan Pablo. So we start off with I saw, which is vi, but because we're going to name a person, we're going to throw in a after the verb. So I saw Juan Pablo would be vi a Juan Pablo. Vi a Juan Pablo. How do you say this morning? Esta mañana. Now try this. I saw Juan Pablo this morning. Vi a Juan Pablo esta mañana. How would you say, I didn't see Juan Pablo this morning? No vi a Juan Pablo esta mañana. The same thing happens when you're talking about, say, my friends, which is mis amigos. If you wanted to say, I saw my friends this morning, you would again throw in that a. So how would you say that in Spanish? Vi a mis amigos esta mañana. I didn't see my friends this morning. No vi a mis amigos esta mañana. Do you remember the word for everyone? Todos. How would you say this? I saw everyone there. Be careful now. Vi a todos allí. Once again, we're referring to a person or people. So you're going to throw in this little a after the verb. Doesn't matter if you're saying I saw Juan Pablo, or I saw my friends, or I saw everyone. It's always vi a Juan Pablo, vi a todos, vi a mis amigos. Now, naturally, you can incorporate all of these new things that we're learning with the past things we've been through, such as the mini course series. For example, how would you say you want? Quieres. And how would you say you want to buy? Quieres comprar. What's the word for the house? La casa. Now, how would you say this? Yesterday, I saw the house that you want to buy. I have the word that in brackets because in English, you have the choice to leave it in or take it out. But in Spanish, you do not. You have to put it in. So, how would you translate this sentence into Spanish? Ayer vi la casa que quieres comprar. Let's switch again to another verb. Here we have the verb to live, which in Spanish is vivir. Vivir. Notice the strong B sound for the V. So we have vivir. Vivir. Now, if we want to express the preterite, which would be I lived, you would go back to the verb and get rid of its ending, this IR, and once again replace it with an I that has an accent over the top. So the sound you get is BB. BB. This means I lived. How would you say I lived here? Viví aquí. The expression for 5 years in Spanish would be por 5 años. This is important. Whenever you are expressing a duration or a length of time and you have the word for in English, you will use por in Spanish. So it doesn't matter if it's for 1 second or for 50 years. For all last week, it's not important. You always throw in por. So we have por 5 años. How would you say, I lived here for 5 years? Viví aquí por 5 años. To say in this house would be en esta casa. En esta casa. Now, how would you say, I lived in this house? Viví en esta casa with my friends, con mis amigos. Now let's put it together. I lived in this house for 5 years with my friends. How would you translate that? Viví en esta casa por 5 años con mis amigos. To say in Mexico would be en México. Notice the pronunciation there where we have the stress point over the E. So we get me, and this sound here, Mexico, it sounds like a H here. Mexico, en Mexico. How would you say, I lived in Mexico for 5 years? Viví en México por 5 años. What's the word for never in Spanish? Nunca. How would you say, I never lived in Mexico? Nunca viví en México. I'd like now for you to try one on your own. The verb to break is romper, romper. So, what we want is to express I broke. So, we go back to the full verb, and I want you to try to do that now. How would you express I broke? Rompí. Just as before, we got rid of the ER ending and replaced it with that I with an accent over the top. So the sound is rompí, rompí. How would you say, I broke it? Lo rompí. The word for the glass, meaning a drinking glass, would be el vaso, el vaso. Try to say, I broke the glass. Rompí el vaso. What about I didn't break the glass? No rompí el vaso. Here's another one for you. The verb to open in Spanish is abrir, abrir. So we want to express I opened, the preterite past. Now, going back to the verb abrir, how would you say that I opened? Abrí. So the transformation was to get rid of the IR ending and replace it with an I that has an accent, making sure that your pronunciation reflects that accent. So the sound we get is abrí, abrí. This means I opened. How would you say I opened it? Lo abrí. I didn't open it. No lo abrí. The word for the bottle is la botella. So we have botella. La botella. Try to say, I opened the bottle for her. Abrí la botella para ella. To say a bottle of wine would be una botella de vino. So, a bottle of wine. Una botella de vino. Try to say, last night I opened a bottle of wine. Anoche abrí una botella de vino. To say the door in Spanish is la puerta, la puerta. How would you say, I opened the door for him? Abrí la puerta para él. And this one, I opened the bottle for him. Abrí la botella para él. Just as in last week's lesson with AR verbs in the preterite tense, what I'd like to do now is practice the sound with these ER or IR verbs, because there is a very clear pattern that we can hold on to. For example, comer goes to comí. Salir, salí. Vivir, viví. Romper, rompí. Abrir, abrí. Now I'd like you to attempt the same thing. Comer goes to what? Comí. Salir. Salí. Vivir. Viví. Romper. Rompí. Abrir. Abrí. Let's finish off now with some final questions. How would you say, I opened the door for her this morning? Abrí la puerta para ella esta mañana. Last night I went out and saw my friends. Be careful here. Anoche salí y vi a mis amigos. I haven't eaten anything today. No comí nada hoy. I broke a glass yesterday. Rompí un vaso ayer. I lived in Mexico for 5 years. Viví en México por 5 años. I ate the cake with my friends. Comí el pastel con mis amigos. I didn't break the door. No rompí la puerta. I opened the bottle of wine for her. Abrí la botella de vino para ella. I went out, but I didn't see what happened. Salí, pero no vi qué pasó. I lived there for 5 years. Viví allí por 5 años. If you're serious about learning Spanish and want to become conversationally fluent, my main course, Spanish with Paul, is live and available for you now. Inside you'll get my complete course, none of which is available on YouTube, and also my personal attention to make sure you achieve conversational fluency in the fastest time possible. In short, if you like my free lessons on YouTube and the results they're giving you, then you'll love what I have for you inside the main course. You can click the link on the screen now to find out all the details. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you again in my next video.